Hello everyone. Good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you for the first time in a few weeks. I have taken a break from doing some Technique Tuesday classes. However, the weekly scrapbooking challenges have still been posted in my Facebook group, Scrapbooking with Sarah Shipton, and also in the My Project section of my website, scrapbookingwithsarahshipton.stampinup.net. And I am sharing week 3 of May Scrapbooking Challenge with you. I want to say actually a shout out to one of my beautiful customers, Sue Robinson, who advised me today, actually last night, that this week's challenge is actually challenge number 100. Can you believe that? I cannot believe that I have done 100 weeks worth of weekly scrapbooking challenges. That is absolutely crazy. So, Sue, thank you so much for pointing that out. Hi, Pauline. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me live today. For those of you that are watching my live Technique Tuesday for the first time, I'm going to share with you a little bit of a background behind the weekly scrapbooking challenges. I started them 2 years ago before I took a 6-week break from my business. We traveled overseas for my husband's 50th birthday to Europe and the UK, and then I had a work commitment over in the US. So I was going to be physically out of my business for 6 weeks, and I decided to start some weekly scrapbooking challenges to help my customers and my scrapbooking audience and community stay inspired with their scrapbooking layouts in my absence. So can you believe that this is challenge number 100? It actually was really great timing that Sue posted that. And for those of you that I know that my team and some of my very valued customers know what's been going on behind the scenes here for me the last few weeks, which is why I've had to take a little bit of a break. Thank you, Sue, so much for sharing that with me, because it really just reminded me of why it is that I do what I do, why I love doing this so much, and that even in times where we feel challenged and maybe even a little bit broken, that there is still light at the end of the tunnel, and that coming together to document our photos, be grateful for all of the blessings that we have in our life, our memories, our stories. It really just was such a timely reminder of why it is that I do what I do. So thank you so much, Sue, for sharing that with me. And I am excited to share this week's challenge with you. I was meant to go live yesterday on Tuesday, but my husband has been away for 4 weeks, and it was really nice just to spend some time with him yesterday, catching up. And now I am sharing with you today my layout. These photos were taken on my daughter's 23rd birthday last year. And we have a little bit of a tradition in our family that whoever the birthday person is, they get to choose where and what they want to do on their birthday. And Kayla chose to spend the day at Chalk Hill Collective, which is one of her, and mine too, might I add, favourite wineries here in the McLaren Vale region in Adelaide. And it was a beautiful spring day. The sun was shining. We had cocktails. We had some really yummy food. They have like a little cucina there. And they do the pinza, which is pizza, but a different kind of style of pizza. And it's just so good. We had the best day, and I spent the afternoon with my beautiful children and Kayla's fiance and Jai's girlfriend. We just had such a lovely day. So a perfect way to introduce you to this gorgeous new paper suite, which is one of the May online exclusives. I am also working this month with the May featured paper suite, which is called Florals in Bloom. And I'm going to be sharing some of those products with you from the new 2025 to 2026 annual catalogue. So I have already created 3 double page layouts, one for each week of this month so far. And then next week when I go live, I will be sharing the coordinating scrapbooking workshop kit with you all, which is called Memories in Bloom. But let's start with this week's pattern. We are creating pattern number 15, which is on pages 34 and 35 of the Make It From Your Heart Volume 1 book. And this is a double page scrapbook layout in 12 by 12 inches. And I have made, some of you have noticed that I have made some adjustments to the photo sizes for the layout. You can see here we've got a large 5 by 7 inch photo, and then we have some smaller 2 by 2 inch photos. And so what I did was actually amend some of the cutting papers to be able to incorporate the larger photos here onto my layout. So you are going to need 2 12 by 12 sheets of either cardstock or designer series paper for your bases. You are going to need another sheet of paper that you are going to do some of these thinner cuts at. You could use zip strips. If you have got some older papers, you could use the 1/2 inch of the zip strips. I have opted for the strawberry slush pattern paper with this cross pattern that runs through it. And you are going to cut 2 pieces at 1/2 inch. One will be long enough to fit your pattern here on the right hand side. So you're going to cut that at 10.5 inches. And then this smaller piece was meant to be cut at 5 inches. So you've just got the 1/2 inch strip along the top of the photo. But I have replaced the 5 by 7 inch photo with 2 4 by 6 inch photos. So then I've needed to make sure that this 1/2 inch strip is measuring 8 inches to match the width of the 2 4 by 6 inch photos there. And then you'll have a coordinating piece of paper that runs along the bottom here at 12 inches, and that's going to be at 1 inch wide. I have added, as you can see here, I did add some extra strips of paper along the bottom of my scrapbook layout. The reason I did that is I did my journaling. We have released some new journaling pens. So these are the new Stampin' Up! Journaling pens. They're only in basic black. You can buy them in a 3-pack, as you can see here. And they're 0.4 mils in width. They're quite a thin journaling pen compared to what I have been used to using. As you can see here on my layout, it does actually come out quite fine. I've just ruled some lines at 1/4 inch to do my journaling here. So I did have a little bit of a gap here between my papers and my photos, because this was designed to have a 5 by 7 inch photo. I don't have 5 by 7 inch photos. We've only got a 4 by 6 inch photo here. So then I ended up with a gap on the actual base page of my layout before I put my papers where they were actually designed to go, which was 1.5 inches from the bottom and 1 3/4 inches from the top. I have posted the pattern in my Facebook group, Scrapbooking with Sarah Shipton. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel, you are welcome to send a request to join my Facebook group, Scrapbooking with Sarah Shipton, where I post the patterns in there on a weekly basis for you to recreate if you wish. So I had some room left through here, so I have actually journaled my journaling there, and then I wrote the date underneath here, and I really did not like it. I really loved this cute little embellishment cluster, which I'm going to be sharing with you today. This is my technique that I'm going to be sharing. So I was not happy with the journaling, so I decided to cut a 1/2 inch strip of paper to go along the bottom here. And I was going to do it in the Secret C cardstock. It was just too heavy. I wanted these to match. And then I decided then to do the Secret C cardstock underneath here on the right hand side. And I've cut this and just tucked it underneath my embellishment cluster here as well. So that is why I've ended up with 2 1/2 inch strips along the bottom there. For your other pieces of paper, either that be cardstock or designer series paper, that's entirely up to you. Paper number 2, you're going to cut that. Because I opted to do a 4 by 6 inch landscape photo here, that filled the 6 inches where the 3 2x2 photos were going to go along the bottom here. This filled the 6 inches along here. It meant that these bits of paper here, I needed to cut them shorter. So these are cut at 4 inches, still by 2 inches wide. So I've got 2 pattern pieces of paper. Here's my little tip for you here. Make sure, I didn't realize this until after I'd stuck it down and did all of the paper piecing, I went to put a 1/2 inch strip of paper through here, and I was tossing up with which ones to use. And I laid this Secret C Designer Series paper along the bottom here, and it was just a little bit too heavy. And then I realized that the pattern, the orientation of the pattern was not matching. So I've got one paper orientation going horizontally and one going vertically, which I had not noticed until I'd stuck everything down. So that's my little tip for you. If you are using pattern paper, then you want to make sure that you've got the orientation. These papers were actually scraps left over from the paper pack Florals in Bloom that I have used for the other 2 scrapbooking challenges I've already posted this week. I'm going to be sharing them with you today as well. So I actually used leftover papers, and I had some left over that was running horizontally and some that was running vertically, and I hadn't noticed until I'd stuck it all down. You are going to need another sheet of either cardstock or Designer Series paper, and you're going to cut 2 pieces out of that. Mine are at 4 inches by 2 inches. If you are going to do the smaller photos, then you're going to cut this strip of paper at 6 inches by 2 inches. And then I've got one more sheet of paper. I opted for cardstock here in Secret C, and I've popped that there at 4 inches by 2 inches. What that allowed me to do was have a 4 by 6 inch landscape photo here, and then here a 4 by 4. Okay, so again, I haven't used the smaller photos. I've actually opted for a 4 by 4 inch photo, and you can see here that I've got a flip flap on top of my layout. So because I'm teaching this to you, I've got my scrapbook layout inside the top load memory protector. And then so you can see how the flip flap works, I've actually stuck the flip flap over the top of the memory protector. So I've got a 4 by 4 inch photo on my base layout, and then I've got another 2 4 by 4 inch photos. What I like to do is stick them back to back, so then I don't have any white borders showing, and then my photo's not moving around inside the flip flap either. And so that captures the day that we spent together perfectly. I've got a single photo of the birthday girl, one of me with the kids, one of us with the food and some drinks, a group photo, her with her birthday cake, and Kayla with her fiance and sister-in-law to be. So did I take more than those photos? Absolutely, but I'm just doing one double page spread. So I go through and I pick out the most relevant photos that I want to print, and they're the ones that I'm capturing there on my layout. So let's talk about the embellishing now, and I'm going to be demonstrating this to you today. Let's take this out of the memory protector. So I will be demonstrating these to you today. So I've used a couple of different suites here. I've used the Florals in Bloom for the pattern paper, and then these little cocktail drinks here are actually taken from the May online exclusive, which is called Celebratory. I've got this upside down. It's called Celebratory Sips. And this also coordinates with the Cheers and Sips as well. Now, I am going to be featuring this particular paper suite in more detail during the month of August. I wanted to just give you a little bit of a sneak peek of it because it is a May online exclusive. And so these items are now available for you to order on my website. I've also used the dies from another May online exclusive, which is Impressions A Bloom. And I have already featured this particular die in 2 other weekly scrapbooking challenges that I've shared with you already. And in fact, this particular cutout here was left over. You will cut a thinner piece, which is like a border. This middle inside piece was left over, and now I've been able to pop that here on my scrapbook layout using my Stampin' Dimensionals, just to lift that off and give that a little bit of dimension there. I'm using this now as a focal point on my layout as an embellishment cluster. So I have got some cards here that I've done. So you can see here that this is the thinner border of that particular die, and this is the remaining piece that we had left over. So you do want to keep those scraps because you can use them on other layouts. And then you can see here I've got in the Petunia Pop the die again, just in a different color. So you'll have a border plus the middle in piece, and you can see here on another scrapbooking challenge that I've done already for this month, this is the thinner border that was cut out of this particular die here. So you definitely want to hang on to those scraps because you can use them in other layouts. And then for the cocktails, one of the things that I love that Stampin' Up! Do is they actually create coordinating dies. So this came, I ended up buying the whole suite collection, and the reason for that being is that this is a collection that I will use a lot of, Cheers and Sips, with the cocktails and the drinks. So we do love to celebrate everything. So we're quite often going out for dinner or to a winery or maybe a gin distillery. And so this is just a great way to really embellish my scrapbook layouts where I'm celebrating good times with friends and family, drinking cocktails and champagne and just enjoying life and each other's company. So the thing that I love that Stampin' Up! Do is that they do create from time to time some, oh, this one's popped right off, some dies, and the shape of the die actually coordinates with the pattern on the paper. So all of our designer series paper has actually been created by a designer in-house. And in fact, there was a video I posted this morning with our CEO, Sarah Douglas, and one of the designers for another paper suite this morning on the Stampin' Up! Official Facebook page. You can see here where I've used the die already to cut out these taller cocktails in the highball glass. You can see that that die is going to sit perfectly over the pattern on the paper, and then I'm going to run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to show you today how that works. And then of course we've got a smaller die here in this cute little tumbler glass, and just different drinks here in colors and some with ice cubes. And then, of course, I was going to say condiments. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten the name. Well, obviously that's like rosemary. So that's quite fun to put in like a gin cocktail. And when you got to do tastings at like a distillery or something, they do have all the little condiments that coordinate with the particular botanicals, with the botanicals, the different smells that come out of the gin. So super fun. One of the other things that I really enjoy doing as well, so obviously when I'm running this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, you can see here I'm going to cut off the top of the rosemary there. So what I did in that instance was using my snips, I just fussy cut the top of the little garnishes. That's the word I was looking for, the garnishes. I've just cut out the top of the little garnishes, the little cocktail umbrella. I've fussy cut them out using my snips scissors, and then I have stuck them over the top of the cocktail, or I've just tucked that underneath there. I've got some 3D, some Stampin' Dimensionals underneath that particular cocktail glass, and then I've just popped the little garnish that I'd cut off underneath there as well. So it still accents that really nicely. So let's demonstrate that to you today. Now, there are lots of other dies that you've got here in the Cheers and Sips dies, and these particular dies coordinate with this stamp set. So you can purchase the die just on its own, or you can purchase the stamp set just on its own. If you buy it as a bundle together with the stamp and the die, then you do get 10% off. I did purchase these as part of the Sweet collection. So I also got the papers, some little embellishments as well. And I will put links in the comments below when I post this video, so you can go directly to my website and see the different products that are available as part of that Sweet collection to buy in its entirety or individually. So I'm just going to grab my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine up here so I can demonstrate this to you. Now, one of the other things that I did as well afterwards is that when I was fussy cutting out for my paper, you can see here we've got like a little cocktail just off to the side, and the way that the paper has printed and cut, you're only getting half of that cocktail. Don't hesitate to cut those out with your snips, because you can see here I've only got half a cocktail, but I can pop that just underneath there like so with a little bit of an overlapping technique, and no one would be any the wiser that that was a little bit of the cocktail that was cut in half on the printed piece of the paper. So, you know, that's okay to do as well. And then what I would do with these is have them sitting in my die pack. I'll pop them in here. So then when it comes time to create another layout with these papers later, I've already got some cocktails pre-cut that I can use as embellishments. So this particular technique, I have to tell you, this was like, I'm going to be really honest, it's just like my lazy embellishing, right? So I couldn't be bothered pulling my inks out and stamping everything and die cutting everything. So by quickly just running these two dies through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss and cutting out quite a lot of different ones. Initially, I wanted to only cut out the cocktails in the strawberry slush color, and then I realized that I didn't have many cocktails in the color of Cloud Cover or Secret Sea. Quite often when I'm doing my embellishing, I like to coordinate my stickers or my dies or my stamping colors with the cardstock as well. And I didn't have the liberty of choice with that. So I ended up cutting out some of the cocktails that had these warmer colors in them as well, because important to note, the color palette for Celebratory Sips is different to the color palette for Florals in Bloom, which is the papers that I have used on my layout. So I'm really bringing in two different suites together, and the color palettes were different. I still think that using the warmer cocktail colors worked really well, because I do have some warmer tones in my colors in my photos, and also with the food and the furniture there in the background. And I went with the strawberry slush just to bring in the color of Kayla's gin cocktail here as well. So that's my little tip for you. If you're feeling lazy or you're having a little bit of a blur week, which I was at the beginning of this week, and I wanted to whip up a layout quickly and easily using these dies with these coordinated papers, are just going to make things a lot easier for you. And let me tell you, girls, I really needed some easy and simple this week. So I've got my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine here. I'm just going to bring in my plates that came with the machine. So we're doing die cutting. I've got my base plate, number 1, the second plate, number 2, and then I need both sets of plates 3. So I'm going to use this bit of paper that I have already cut, and I've just got my die here, so I'm going to pop that over the top of this highball glass here, and I'm going to use some washi tape just to keep that in place nicely. And then I've got this die here for the smaller little gin tumbler, and again I'm just going to grab some washi tape and pop that there in place. Oh, I need to move that over a bit because that's going to get stuck when I run that through my embossing machine. So I'm just putting plate 3 over the top there, and then I'm going to run this through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss. I know some of you invested in the new machine before the price rise went up, and I know that you are loving your new toy. I am a big fan of the Stampin' Cut and Emboss. It's the third machine that I've invested in 3 years, and hands down is the best one that I've used. If you're using washi tape to keep your dies in place on your designer series paper or cardstock, you just want to be careful when you peel that off so you don't tear the paper. There we go. I've got one little cocktail there. And then we've got another little cocktail here. How cute is that? Is that just not the cutest thing ever? I just love it. I think that is so cute. So a really great investment with those dies if you are having a non-crafty day and you want to whip up something quickly and easily. I'm just going to cut this excess bit of paper off here now. So what I did here was I kept the scrap paper, obviously, and then I have also fussy cut out some of these cute little flowers, and I've used them as embellishments on my layout. So we've got the little cocktail with the highball, the umbrella, another smaller one in the tumbler with the garnish, and then you can see here where I've fussy cut out some of those little flowers, and then I've just stuck some of them on using my Stampin' Dimensionals. And then to bling it up, because I always love a little bit of bling, I am using the 2025 to 2027 in color flat pearls, and these are the new in colors for the 2025 to 2027 years with Stampin' Up. We've got Cloud Cover and Timid Tiger, Darling Duckling, Strawberry Slush, and then also Secret Sea, which is this darker blue. You will not see this in here because I've used all of them already. So I'll just pop those scissors down, move that out of the way, and you can see here we've got these cute little die cut shapes that you can embellish now. You can pop them on with your dimensionals, put your flowers, garnishes around them as well to embellish. And then I have just made another little embellishment cluster here with a couple of the different cocktails. You can see here I've fussy cut the orange out and then stuck that in underneath. I've fussy cut this garnish out as well, stuck that underneath the cocktail glass, and then I've just got some of the little flowers around there as well. And then I've blinged that up with some of the in color pearls around the outside. I've got a little cluster here at the top. I also wanted to stamp a title on here. So this is a new stamp set. Everything I'm showing you today is new from the new annual catalogue or the current May online exclusives. This is the Layered Thought stamp set. You've got love, happy birthday, thank and thinking in these large stamps. And then you've got the words to you and of. So I've able just to stamp here happy birthday, and then I did the to you next to that. And then that's got my title on there for this particular layout. And I've used the new colour, which is Strawberry Slush, one of the new 5 in colours for 2025 to 2027. So I hope that you have enjoyed my little Technique Tuesday class here today on a Wednesday with this week's layout. I am going to share just quickly some of the other layouts that I have already posted, and then I'm going to show you where you'll be able to find these products in your new annual catalogue. This was week 1's layout. I've got these in memory protectors already. So we've got Spring in Paris, and I've used the Florals in Bloom and also the Impressions a Bloom. So a paper suite from the catalogue and then a paper suite from the May online exclusive. I've got this gorgeous white ribbon running through here as well. Lots of stamping and die cutting. I've done some stamping, 1st and 2nd generation stamping on my journaling box here. I've used the alphabet dies to make my title and the adhesive sheets on those to stick them down. And then this beautiful embellishment cluster here using the Impressions Bloom dies and also 3D embossing folder. The name of that one escapes me right now, but I will pop the link below. And then layout number 2 for May, again, using the in colours. Oh, so the in colours for this one were, well, actually, Petunia Pop is not an in, well, it's an in colour, but the in colour from 24 to 26. Have I got those years right? 24 to 26. Secret Sea, Granny Apple Green, and Petunia Pop was my colour combo there. And on this one, my colour combo was Tim and Tiger, Secret Sea, and Cloud Cover. So here you can see I've used that die again. This is a die I think I'm going to use a lot, this beautiful oval shape. Actually, it's not an oval. I don't know what you would call that shape. It's kind of like a circle oval. If you were to cut it. I've cut it in half and just made little embellishment clusters here. You can see here I've got a flip flap on this one. This is the same distillery, but just a couple of years ago. This was Mother's Day in 2021. I've got a 4x4 inch flip flap here as well. And then this one I've done lots of stamping and die cutting here using Timber Tiger, Secret Sea. I've used a little flat color impearls again, and I'm really happy with how that layout turned out. So this was week 2 challenge. That was week 1 challenge. And the first layout I shared with you was layout for this week here for week 3 in May. Also a couple of cards I made that I shared with you earlier. And now I'm just going to highlight where you will find those things in the annual catalogue, and I'll pop the links below. So this is the 2025 to 2026 annual catalogue. I am going to be featuring Memories in Bloom during May. This will be the scrapbooking workshop kit we are doing next week for my National Scrapbooking Day on May 31st. Now, the Memories in Bloom scrapbooking workshop kit also coordinates with the, oh, I've missed one here. Also coordinates with the Florals in Bloom Sweet Collection. So this is where I've got my colour palette from at the top. And you can see that you can purchase the in-colour pearls and the beautiful papers. And then Florals in Bloom also coordinates with Memories in Bloom. Again, you can purchase some individual papers and cardstock stamp sets. This is the scrapbooking from scratch section of the catalogue. So at the front of the catalogue, you'll have step-by-step crafting, which includes the scrapbooking workshop kits. You're then going to have your crafting where you can be super creative with all of the different sweet collections. And then you've got your crafting where you can scrapbook from scratch. So you have got those 3 sections in the catalogue. It's a little bit of an experience, but you can see how all of those products coordinate together, really just to give you diversity and options as crafters. So for those of you that are attending my National Scrapbooking Day on May 31st, I cannot wait to see you, and you'll get to see all of these beautiful layouts in the flesh. Stay tuned for next week, where I'll be sharing the coordinating scrapbooking workshop kit with you all for my Technique Tuesday. Thank you all so much for your patience with me these last few weeks, as I've taken a little bit of time off, and I'm super excited to share more product with you next week and in the coming months with our new annual catalogue. Have a great week, everyone. I can't wait to see what your layouts look like for our scrapbooking challenge this week. Bye for now.